Hey, Islam family, I want to come on here and give you a real quick lesson. I'm not going to be too long because I don't have a whole lot of battery. But I want to talk about small time period and show you how short time actually is in between the time of Mansa Musa and Christopher Columbus. So they say that, the Europeans thought that the world was flat, which we all know is a lie. But you know, one of the things that they don't tell you about Christopher Columbus and all his voyages is that before he was able to sail out, Ferdinand and Isabella specifically told him, hold on, wait, we still fighting with the Moors. Let us finish this war first, and then we'll send you on your way. So Christopher Columbus was there at the fall of Granada in 1492. So he was in Spain when this happened and was telling them, hey, let's go check out this territory over there. But the thing that most people don't understand or don't realize is that in time, history wise, it wasn't that far off from Mansa Musa. So George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and all these guys are about 200 years apart from us when they so-called founded the United States. So around that time, it wasn't that far. There's still recorded history, so we remember, we have stuff about it. There's books on George Washington and all of these guys. So that was about 200 years ago. Well, Mansa Musa was only about 100 years off of Christopher Columbus. He died in about 1330s. I want to say. I don't quote me, but it was around those times. So this was literally about 100 years before the fall of Granada. So my point of bringing this up is most people know or have heard of Mansa Musa as being the richest man that ever lived. And, that's pretty much true from what we hear historically. But the thing is, on his trip to Mecca, where he got famous, he dropped all this gold on the way. And the people wanted to know, his story. How did you become king? And things of that sort, where all this gold come from. Europeans had never seen this much gold, and even a lot of Africans in North Africa had never seen this gold because he destabilized the whole economy. So in his storytelling of basically how he ascended to the throne, and like I say, don't quote me exactly, but basically both his brother and his uncle took out with ships from West Africa, coming here to America, to the Americas. One of them took off with about 200 ships. One took off with about 2,000 ships after the other one didn't come back. So they knew it was something over here. There were Moors, coming back and forth. So these Moors, they were African Moors, Moroccan, Mauritanian, what was that? Tibet, and, all these other South and Western African countries from these areas. This is where Mansa Musa and all his family were from. So they left coming to see what was over here in America. It was like, hey, my brother, my uncle, whatever, didn't come back. I'm going to go find them. They came with even more ships. So you got to realize there were thousands of ships that came over here at that time. So these so-called Africans, these Moors who had all this gold, were going traveling to this far land that these Europeans so-called had never even heard of. You got to realize that this was only about 100 years before Columbus. So Columbus, remembering all this gold, getting all these Moorish maps, and all these things, he took this to Ferdinand and Isabel. This is how he was able to get funded for his trip to come over to the Americas. So if it wasn't for the Moors and Mansa Musa, the Europeans, Christopher Columbus and all them, they would have no clue of what was even going on in the Americas. And it would have potentially even, stopped some of the fall that happened over here after we fell in Granada and Spain over there. We fell over here when they came and brought that same water crusades to our people over here, to the indigenous Moors and the Moroccan, African, whatever Moors that came over 100 years before. That stayed. They didn't all come back. Go check the story. So the story of Christopher Columbus, when he first saw land, the first structure that he saw was off the coast of Cuba. It was a mosque, an Islamic mosque in Cuba in the 1400s, late 1400s. So, this was nothing but us, you know, and we've been here since time immemorial. And their book showing that our people came over, you know, even before then, but they called anybody indigenous that was here before the Europeans came and settled. So all these Moors that had came over, you know, kings and, you know, society of people had came over here to settle. They were the ones that Christopher Columbus saw, along with the people that were already here. So a lot of that technology was already here. They say it like they brought everything, and like the natives here had nothing, and, you know, were nomads and things of that sort, when it's just not true, you know. And I have to get into that history another time to basically break down what happened with all the different groups of people that were here, because, you know, there are books on that as well. And they were Moors. There was you know, several groups of people that came from different parts of the world over to the Americas and settled over here in the times right before Columbus. You know, like that time when Mansa Musa's people was coming, that wasn't the only group of people that were migrating across the world at that time. And I'm gonna have to say that for another video, because it's real good, but it's real deep. And like I say, I don't have a lot of time. But I did want to break that down, you know, just that little time period and epoch, and show people basically that Christopher Columbus was following Mansa Musa and his family. So, you know, Moors have always been here, and, you know, we selling this Christopher Columbus Day to day, Indigenous Peoples Day to day, or whatever. You know, it's not really a holiday too much for us, but, you know, we can celebrate, change the celebration to get it off of that vibe. But I wanted to throw that history out there and put our people on. Peace and love.